You ever stop and really think about the power behind faith? Not just any faith, but the kind that moves mountains, that keeps people standing strong when the world seems determined to knock them down? I'm talking about the faith that you see every day in millions of Muslims around the world. A faith so deep, so unshakable, it's like they're connected to something bigger than themselves, something raw and undeniable. It's not about religion as you hear it in the news or on social media. It's something much more profound. No matter the struggle, the hardship, or the noise of the world, Muslims keep showing up with this quiet strength. You don't always see it at first glance, but it's there, woven into the way they live, the way they move, the way they carry themselves. It's a power that commands respect, even from those who don't fully understand it. And honestly, that's what fascinates me most. It's a kind of honor that goes beyond stereotypes, beyond headlines, beyond politics and prejudice. Today, I want to dive deep into that unseen power. I want to explore why Muslims are so honored across cultures and generations, why their faith shapes lives in ways that inspire millions. This isn't just about religion, it's about human resilience, purpose, and connection. So stick with me, because what you're about to hear might just challenge what you thought you knew and open your mind to something real and powerful. When I first started meeting Muslim friends and guests on the podcast, I wasn't sure what to expect. Honestly, I came into it with a lot of assumptions, stuff we all carry around without realizing it. But what hit me immediately was the consistency in their lives. These weren't people just going through the motions. They had this grounded presence, like they were living from a place of real purpose. It wasn't flashy or loud. It was steady, quiet, and powerful in a way that stuck with me. I remember conversations where they talked about faith not as some distant, abstract idea, but as something alive, something that shapes every decision. Whether it was about family, work, or how they treated people around them, there was this thread of integrity running through it all. And the resilience they carry on through challenges that would break most people, wars, displacement, personal struggles, you name it. Yet their faith keeps them standing, keeps them connected to something bigger. One thing I notice is how they don't need constant validation. They're not trying to impress anyone or prove something to the world. It's like their belief system gives them a kind of freedom, the freedom to be who they are, grounded in tradition, but also incredibly present in the moment. That kind of balance is rare, and it made me reflect on what faith really means. It's not just about rituals or rules. It's about anchoring yourself in a way that lets you face life's storms without losing your center. Through my experiences, whether it was sitting down with scholars who've memorized entire scriptures or talking with young Muslims who carry wisdom beyond their years, I saw something that transcended religion. It was about purpose and community, a deep sense of belonging, responsibility, and a shared commitment to something greater than individual success or comfort. It made me realize that faith, when lived fully, is a powerful force that shapes character and creates connection. That's why I respect Muslims so much, not just for their faith, but for how that faith translates into daily life. It's about resilience, consistency, and a sense of purpose that I think we could all learn from. You know, the world we live in today is a whirlwind. Things change so fast. Beliefs, values, trends, everything feels unstable, like the ground beneath us is constantly shifting. It's hard to find anything that really lasts, anything that truly anchors you when the noise and chaos never stop. And that's where faith comes in, especially the kind of faith I've witnessed in Muslim communities. It's not just a set of rituals or rules. It's an anchor, something that holds steady no matter what's happening around you. When I look at a lot of modern life, I see people chasing after freedom, but what they often end up with is chaos. Freedom becomes this blurry line where you're so busy chasing the next thing, distracted by noise and fleeting pleasures, that you lose sight of what really matters. And then there are Muslim communities who, despite everything happening around them, like wars, oppression, poverty, displacement, they stand solid. Their faith gives them a kind of steadiness that almost seems unbreakable. Take, for example, people living in places like Palestine, Syria, Kashmir, or even Uyghur communities in China. These are folks who face unimaginable hardship every day. Bombings, persecution, losing loved ones, homes destroyed, and yet they pray, they smile, they carry on with a peace that's hard to explain. I remember hearing stories from refugees who said their faith was the only thing that kept them going, the only thing that gave them hope when everything else was falling apart. That kind of resilience, not just surviving but thriving in spite of adversity, commands respect. It makes you stop and rethink what real strength looks like. There's a deep philosophical idea here, too, that really struck me: the paradox of submission and freedom. At first glance, submitting to something greater, to a higher power, might sound like giving up freedom, but it's actually the opposite. True freedom comes when you stop being a slave to your fears, your desires, the constant need for approval or distraction. When you submit your will to something eternal and unchanging, you break free from the chaos that traps so many of us. It's like standing in the middle of a storm but knowing you won't be swept away because your roots run deep. That submission isn't about losing yourself. It's about finding yourself in a way that's grounded, centered, and unshakable. And that's something a lot of people crave deep down, even if they don't know it yet. The Muslim faith, with its emphasis on daily prayers, fasting, charity, and community, creates this rhythm and structure that keeps believers connected to that anchor. It's a daily reminder that life isn't just about what you see or what you want. It's about aligning with a higher purpose, a greater reality. That's why, even in the toughest conditions, you see a calm, a dignity that's magnetic. When you witness that, it forces you to look at your own life and ask, what's really holding me up? What am I anchored to when everything else seems to be falling apart? And it's hard not to feel some kind of admiration, not just for the faith itself, but for the people who live it out with such grace under fire. In a world where so much feels temporary, where values shift with the latest trend, the steadiness that faith provides is rare and powerful. It's the reason Muslims are often quietly admired to be, because they remind us all that resilience isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about facing it with a strength that comes from something deeper than circumstance. And that's a lesson worth listening to. In today's world, everything moves fast. Trends come and go like flashes of light. What's hot one day is forgotten the next. Social media feeds flood us with the latest fads, styles, diets, ideas, and opinions, all begging for our attention. It's exhausting just trying to keep up. And yet, amidst all that chaos, there's something truly remarkable about the way Muslims hold on to consistency. Their rituals, ethics, and daily habits don't waver with the shifting tides. They're anchored in something far deeper. Islamic practices are rooted in centuries-old traditions that have remained remarkably steady through time and across cultures. Daily prayers 5 times a day, fasting during Ramadan, giving charity, treating others with kindness. These aren't just random acts or outdated rules. They're deliberate, intentional practices that shape every moment of a person's life. These rituals create a rhythm and order, a kind of spiritual discipline that acts as a foundation no matter what the outside world throws at you. This consistency goes beyond just religious duties. It seeps into every part of life: how Muslims speak, what they eat, how they treat family and friends, how they approach their work. Integrity is key. It's about living in a way that's authentic and true, not just when it's easy or convenient, but all the time. For example, honesty in speech is emphasized. Lying or gossiping isn't just frowned upon, it's seen as damaging to the soul and the community. Food choices are mindful, respecting what is halal, which means permissible, not just for health reasons, but as an act of obedience and mindfulness. Relationships are built on respect, kindness, and responsibility. And in work, there's a deep ethic of doing your best, being fair, and not cutting corners. What's magnetic about this kind of consistency is that it's rare in a world where people often change their values or behavior depending on who they're with or what's popular. It's easy to get lost in trying to fit in or chasing what's trendy. But when someone holds steady, showing up every day with the same values, the same dedication, it stands out. It commands respect, whether you agree with their beliefs or not. I've talked to guests on my podcast who've shared how this consistency in Muslim culture gave them a sense of belonging and stability they couldn't find anywhere else. It's a kind of quiet power, not loud or flashy, but deeply rooted and reliable. That kind of groundedness can pull people in because it offers something we all want: certainty in an uncertain world. Think about it. When everything else feels temporary or superficial, consistency becomes a beacon. It shows that there's something meaningful beneath the surface, something worth holding on to. And that's why so many people, including myself, find that there's an undeniable honor in how Muslims live their faith daily. It's not about perfection. It's about showing up again and again with integrity and purpose. In a culture obsessed with the new and the now, this kind of steady, unshakable consistency is powerful. It reminds us all that lasting strength isn't found in chasing every trend or instant gratification. It's found in the commitment to a way of life, a set of values that holds firm no matter what. That's why it's so magnetic, and why it commands respect from anyone who truly sees it. One thing that's always struck me when I've spent time in Muslim communities is the undeniable power of belonging, that tribal strength that comes from truly looking out for one another. It's not just a casual friendship or an online follow. It's a deep living connection. When you walk into a Muslim neighborhood, a mosque, or a family gathering, you can feel this energy. Like everyone knows they're part of something bigger than themselves, something sacred. In my experience, this sense of brotherhood and community goes beyond just shared beliefs. It's about loyalty, support, and responsibility. People genuinely care for each other.
They show up when it matters, whether it's helping with a move, supporting someone during tough times, or simply being there for daily encouragement.
It's a powerful antidote to the isolation so many people feel in today's world. Contrast that with the kind of communities most people have online. Social media can give the illusion of connection, hundreds, even thousands of friends or followers, but it's often surface level. You scroll, you like, you comment, but do you really feel seen or supported? Most times, no. It's easy to feel lonelier on social media than anywhere else because those connections rarely translate to real-life loyalty or tangible help when life gets hard. That's what makes the tribal strength in Muslim communities so sacred. It's built on trust and shared values. It's a reminder that human beings aren't meant to live as isolated islands. We thrive when we belong. When we know there's a group of people who will have our back, who will celebrate our successes and lift us through failures. This isn't just emotional support, it's survival. It's a foundation for resilience. I've seen Muslim families and communities rally around one another with a commitment that's rare these days. They don't just say, "I'm here if you need me." They act. They organize meals for a family in grief, help pay for medical bills, or gather to clean up after a disaster. It's this active loyalty that makes their bonds unbreakable. And it's not because they're perfect. It's because they understand the sacredness of loyalty and support. This sense of brotherhood also has a spiritual dimension. It's tied to the idea that the whole community is responsible for the welfare of each member, a kind of divine mandate to care for each other. It's tribal, yes, but it's also deeply ethical and intentional. That's why Muslims often talk about the Umayyas, the global community of believers, as a family that transcends nationality, race, or background. In a time when loneliness is one of the biggest public health issues, this tribal strength offers a profound lesson. It shows the power of real human connection, the importance of being there for one another in concrete ways, and the honor that comes from being part of something larger than yourself. That kind of belonging isn't just comforting, it's life-changing. And it's one of the reasons why Muslims are so honored, not just by their own communities, but by those of us who witness it from the outside. One of the things that always stands out to me about Muslim scholars and thinkers is their deep humility, even while holding vast knowledge. It's fascinating because they understand that true wisdom isn't about showing off or proving you're the smartest person in the room. Instead, it's about recognizing that all knowledge ultimately belongs to something greater, to God. That awareness keeps their egos in check and their hearts open.
I've met so many Muslims who are experts in their fields, who have dedicated years to studying theology, philosophy, or science, yet they carry themselves with a quiet confidence, never arrogance.
They don't brag or dominate conversations. Instead, they listen, learn, and share what they know with generosity. It's a humility that comes from knowing how much there still is to learn and how knowledge is a gift, not a trophy. This kind of humility is a powerful strength. It's the opposite of what you often see in today's culture, where humility can be performative, like people saying, "I'm humble," while really just fishing for compliments, or ego-driven, where the loudest voice or flashiest credentials get all the attention. In contrast, Muslim scholars model a grounded wisdom that's quiet but deeply impactful. They don't need to shout to be heard, because their sincerity and integrity speak louder than words. This mindset creates a culture where learning is a lifelong journey, not a competition. It fosters respect and openness, encouraging people to grow intellectually and spiritually without fear of judgment or ego clashes. It's a reminder that wisdom isn't about how much you know, but how you use that knowledge to serve others and live with purpose. That's why this kind of humility and knowledge commands respect, not just within Muslim communities, but everywhere. It's rare, it's genuine, and it's exactly the kind of grounded wisdom the world needs more of today. What really hits me about Islam is how it teaches that every single action, no matter how small, holds meaning. It's not just about the big, obvious things like prayer or fasting, but even the tiny moments, the smile you give a stranger, the patience you show when you're angry, or the simple act of feeding an animal. This mindset that every intention counts turns ordinary life into something sacred. That kind of awareness creates a life that's alive and full, a life where you're truly present in each moment. When you live like that, you're not just going through the motions or distracted by endless noise. You're conscious of the impact your actions have on yourself and others. It's like your whole day becomes a continuous act of worship and kindness, which is powerful and humbling. I think that's why people are drawn to Muslims. Even if they don't always understand the faith or the rituals, there's an unconscious admiration for that kind of purposefulness and integrity. It's rare to find people who live with that much intention and mindfulness in a world that's constantly pulling us away with distractions and instant gratification. Living with purpose this way gives life a deeper meaning, a connection to something bigger than ourselves. It's a reminder that what we do matters, and that even small good deeds can ripple out in ways we might never see. That level of awareness is inspiring because it challenges all of us to slow down, be better, and see the sacred in the everyday. That's the kind of presence that many people crave, even if they don't realize it. It's not flashy or loud, but it has a quiet power that sticks with you. And honestly, it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in the Muslim community, how deeply purposeful life can be when every action is done with intention and heart. There's something deeply powerful and honestly a bit counterintuitive about the idea of freedom through submission. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, breaking all the rules, and escaping limits. But what I've seen in the Muslim community and in the Islamic faith is that true freedom actually comes from submitting to something greater than yourself, submitting to God. Now, that might sound like a contradiction. How can giving up control be freeing? But here's the thing. When you submit to God, you're not surrendering to a cage. You're breaking free from the chains that society, trends, and peer pressure put on you every day. You stop trying to constantly please everyone or chase the latest fad, and instead, you ground yourself in a purpose that's timeless and unshakable. I've met so many people, whether elders who have spent their lives practicing this submission or young people learning it now, who embody this freedom. They're not slaves to social media, to consumer culture, or to the anxiety of always measuring up. They're independent because their identity isn't tied to external validation. It's rooted in faith and conviction. One story that sticks with me is from an elder I once met, someone who had lived through war and hardship but carried an unbreakable calm. He told me that surrendering to God's will gave him peace that no power on earth could shake. He wasn't shackled by fear or despair because he had accepted a higher plan, one that gave him strength instead of limiting him. This idea flips the usual notion of freedom on its head. Instead of being bound by your impulses or trapped in the endless cycle of chasing approval, submission to God lets you say no to what doesn't serve your soul. It creates a space where you can be truly yourself, free from the noise and chaos. That's the paradox. Submission isn't about losing yourself. It's about finding your real self. It's about breaking free from the illusion that you have to control everything and instead trusting in something bigger. And in that trust, there's a power and independence that's rare in today's world. I see this especially in the youth who choose to live by these principles, even when it's tough or unpopular. They're carving out a kind of freedom that isn't defined by rebellion or conformity, but by faith and integrity. That kind of strength is magnetic because it's genuine. It's not about fitting in or standing out. It's about standing firm. So when we talk about the power of submission in Islam, we're really talking about a radical freedom, one that liberates you from the pressures of society and lets you live fully, deeply, and with purpose. It's a freedom that, honestly, I think many people are searching for, whether they know it or not. There's something undeniable about the way Muslims carry themselves, a kind of magnetic pull that draws people in, even those who don't share their faith or who might be skeptical. It's a combination of authenticity, steadiness, and spiritual depth that you just can't fake or replicate. In a world that feels increasingly chaotic and superficial, this presence stands out like a beacon. Muslims remind the world of what so many of us have lost: a sense of purpose, discipline, and true community. In their daily lives, rituals, and interactions, there's a clear sense that everything means something. That discipline, whether it's in prayer, fasting, or how they treat others, creates a kind of rhythm that anchors them. It's not about perfection, but about showing up consistently and with intention. Even critics and skeptics can't help but notice this. I've had conversations on my podcast with people from all walks of life, and time and again, they express a deep respect for the resilience and groundedness they see in Muslim communities. It's like watching a flame that refuses to be snuffed out, no matter the storms around it. At the heart of it, this admiration crosses boundaries, religious, cultural, political. It's about recognizing something fundamentally human and powerful. When you strip away the headlines and misunderstandings, what you see is people living with conviction, honor, and a profound connection to something bigger than themselves. For me, that's where the real respect comes from. It's not just about faith or rituals, but about a way of being that challenges the rest of us to find our own grounding, purpose, and integrity. Muslims, through their resilience and humility, remind us all that no matter what's going on in the world, there's a way to live that's deeply honorable and inspiring. So yeah, despite everything, despite all the noise and division, there's a powerful reason why Muslims are so honored. It's because they embody qualities that resonate across humanity: strength and submission, consistency and chaos, and community and isolation. That's something worth paying attention to. What I've learned from watching and listening to Muslims, their faith, their way of life, is something that goes way beyond religion. It's a set of universal lessons that anyone, no matter where they come from or what they believe, can take to heart. When you strip it all down, it's about resilience, community, humility, and living with purpose. These aren't just abstract concepts. They're practical ways to navigate the chaos of life and find meaning in the everyday. First, resilience. The way Muslims hold steady through challenges, whether it's personal struggles, social pressures, or larger conflicts, is remarkable. It's not about avoiding hardship, but about meeting it with a grounded spirit that refuses to break. That kind of resilience isn't built overnight. It's forged through faith, discipline, and a clear sense of purpose. It teaches me that strength isn't about being unshakable, but about being deeply rooted. So no matter what life throws at you, you can bend without breaking. Then there's community, the tribal strength I've seen firsthand. In a world where social media often replaces real connection, the loyalty and support found in Muslim communities is a powerful reminder of what it means to belong. It's not just about having people around. It's about truly looking out for one another, sharing burdens, and celebrating victories together. This sense of brotherhood and sisterhood is something we all crave, no matter our background. Humility is another lesson that stands out. The scholars and elders I've encountered carry immense knowledge, yet they do so with quiet grace, always pointing back to something greater than themselves. That kind of humility is rare in today's ego-driven culture. It's a reminder that wisdom isn't about boasting or winning arguments. It's about staying open, curious, and connected to the deeper truths of life. And finally, living with purpose. The idea that every action, no matter how small, carries meaning is profound. Whether it's a smile, a kind word, or controlling your temper, these moments add up to a life rich with presence and intention. It's a mindset that invites us all to wake up, pay attention, and realize that how we show up matters every single day. So here's what I want to leave you with. These values, resilience, community, humility, purpose, they're not exclusive to any one group. They belong to all of us. We can all learn from them and find ways to bring them into our own lives, no matter our faith or background. Because when we do, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. We're building a life that honors something bigger than ourselves. If there's one takeaway, it's this: look beyond the surface, look past stereotypes, headlines, and noise. There's a powerful wisdom in the way Muslims live that can teach us all how to be stronger, kinder, and more grounded human beings. And that, in the end, is a lesson worth carrying forward.